Hello there, I'm PrinceMochi, and today I'm going to be taking you through the very first steps of a Genshin Impact Zero Wish walkthrough. Unlike free-to-play runs of the game, I'm limiting myself by ignoring the wish system completely. The plan is to uncover unique strategies and reveal just how accessible the game is. I've broken the video into 3 sections. I'm going to cover leveling, some early challenges, and important items to keep an eye out for along the way. So, let's be as free as the wind blows, pack an emergency Paimon ration, and get into the experience from Adventure Rank 1 to 20. The first priority with the Zero Wish run is to get to Adventure Rank 20. At the time of this recording, when you hit 20, you can unlock Barbara and Zhanglang, which will make a huge difference for your party. Other content creators have already covered the fastest ways to level, but here's a quick recap in case you're new. You want to focus on quests as you unlock them, do your daily commissions in Adventurer's Handbook, and make sure you spend all your resin on ley lines and eventually domains. Also, remember that you can unlock 3 one-time domains at Adventure Rank 12, 15, and 18. Along the way, I suggest exhausting the dialogue options of every NPC because a lot of them will give you free items. I was able to reach Adventure Rank 20 without leaving the Mondstadt region, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't really take my own advice. I spent a lot of time exploring and using an online map, which I'll put in the description below. I took my time to go after every animonculus in the area and picked up every luxurious chest I could find on the way. This wasn't the fastest approach, but I also recently broke my ribs, so I have more spare time than I should. At AR-15, you should be able to ascend all 4 main characters. The materials you need will be available if you've been picking up enemy drops and claiming your adventure rank rewards. I highly recommend doing this and pumping them with levels since leveling is one of the most substantial ways to increase your DPS. You can also save up and buy a Memory of Roving Gales, aka the constellation item for the Traveler. The souvenir shop in Mondstadt has it, and if you've been opening chests you can get it pretty quickly. If you don't have enough XP books for all of your characters, then I highly recommend prioritizing the Traveler and Kea for reasons that I'm about to get into. Now, a challenge that I was not expecting was how few good weapons you will come across in the game. I could not find a good weapon for Amber or Lisa until I was around Adventure Rank 18, making them feel like they were pretty weak party members. When I first started playing the game, I was actually really annoyed at how many weapons I kept pulling from my wishes, but I realize now how valuable they were. It got pretty annoying to keep finding copies of the same 2 weapons for Amber and Lisa, both of which had healing traits and were not really the kind of thing I would want to pump XP into. I'll get more into how I dealt with this in the final section of the video where I cover important items. Speaking of weapons, at the moment of recording this video, none of the free characters use a claymore. Now, this is obviously a stylistic setback, completely killing my berserk roleplay fantasy, but it also makes mining and fighting rock-based enemies a lot more tedious. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love mining. In Final Fantasy XIV and in the eyes of my parents, I am a miner, but hitting a crystal 100 times with a longsword is just not the same. That being said, I did learn a quick workaround. If you do a ground slam, you can inflict extra damage against minerals and rock-based enemies, meaning a claymore was not as crucial as I thought. I'm actually kind of happy to discover this because originally I thought ground slamming was kind of a gimmick or like a way to survive a fall, but now it's becoming more of a mechanic that I need to utilize when I'm exploring and in combat. Another frustrating thing about the first 20 levels is that it's hard to do any expeditions. Without wishes, you're limited to the 4 characters at the start, and I wasn't thrilled about the idea of using an undersized party. You could technically do it if you ignore puzzles, but I just chose to ignore expeditions on my way to 20. I did try to bargain with Paimon once, but she got very upset, so I left it. That being said, I do recommend that you do 1 expedition, maybe send your characters out before you go to bed, because you want to get that done for the Adventurer's Guide. Lastly, I want to talk about some key items in the game. Resources are everything in Genshin Impact. I personally recommend picking up everything and anything whenever you have the chance. Minerals and flowers, however, are super important, and there's a great system in the game that allows you to mark them down on the map. Minerals and plants respawn. You're going to need a lot of white iron and crystal chunks to forge all of your 4-star weapons, and you'll really want to collect every piece you can early since Lisa depends on that for her survival. I'm going to cover that in the last part. Also, be sure to keep a lookout for these 4 plants: Windwheel Aster, Lampgrass, Valberries, and Cal Lilies. You'll need 168 of each of these to reach max level ascension with the main 4 characters. If you see any of those flowers, mark them on your map. Basically, all resources take a maximum of 72 hours to respawn, so what I do is I just go to all of my marked spots every 3 days. Earlier I touched on the drought of good weapons, so I want to highlight a few key weapons to keep an eye out for. If you're on the PS4 like me, you're going to get access immediately to a weapon called the Sword of Dissension. This weapon is great for the Traveler, and you will probably be using it for a long time, so I recommend putting XP in it immediately. The next weapon of relevance is the Prototype Rancor, which you will get from the Adventurers Guild upon hitting Adventure Rank 10. This sword is great for Kaya, and it's what I would recommend for now. If you are not on PS4, do not fret. If you don't have the Sword of Dissension available, you can equip the Rancor to the Traveler, and you can speak to Harry, a Knight of Favonius, over here on the map. He'll actually give you a Cold Steel, which is a great weapon for Kaya until you can afford to craft more Rancors. Amber will get a Favonius Warbow when you finish the first major part of the story, around Adventure Rank 18. And hopefully, if you've been collecting minerals, you can craft Lisa a 4-star weapon. The 4th chapter of the Adventurer's Guide will give you a Catalyst prototype for her, and I was able to complete that chapter around Adventure Rank 18 as well. So with that, all the characters should have a weapon with strong enough stats for the immediate content to come. And that's my summary and guide for the first 20 levels of a Zero Wish Genshin Impact playthrough. At this point, most of the puzzles, enemies, and challenges are pretty easy and don't really require better characters or weapons. I'm planning on making a leveling summary every 10 adventure ranks I go through, and I also want to make videos that take a more in-depth look at the free characters, party strategies with them, artifacts, and anything else I find interesting. At the moment, I'm doing some testing on how weapon stats work. I want to uncover how big the difference is between types and tiers of weapons, and I'm super excited to make a whole video just on that. If there is any content that you want me to cover from my perspective of a Zero Wish guide to the game, please let me know below in the comments. If there's a specific boss fight or domain you think I should make a video about, I would love to know. I've gotten some great feedback and I'm excited to uncover as much as I can about this challenge. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out a brand new content creator. It really does mean the world to me.